The essence of the automobile has been around for a long, long time, and humanity has always leaped and bounded at finding new ways, new innovations to make sure that transport and travel becomes much more convenient. But for as long as we've possibly known travel and transport, we've always known them to be completely reliant on fossil fuels, completely reliant on the fact that we gotta make some things go boom boom in the engine for us to go ahead. Well, a lot of that has changed in the recent future with the rise of electric vehicles. There has been no fall, and even though we as a species are still very, very young in the development of most of our technologies, when it comes to electric vehicles, we've come a long way. And without wasting any more time, because we have so much to get into in the realm of electric vehicles, let's just jump straight into what would come to your mind as soon as you think of the word electric vehicle. For most of us, it's Tesla. The first thing that we think of for electric vehicle is Tesla. But then again, there are companies that have been around in the electric vehicle game longer than Tesla has been. For example, Nissan has been in the game for a long, long time. Toyota has been in the game for a long, long time with the Prius. As a matter of fact, vehicles have been around that have been tiny, non mainstream, but completely electronic for as long as we can imagine. Even in India, the company called Mahindra came out with a Reva a long time ago, and that was completely electric, even though electric technology did not come anywhere near where it is today. So, why are we talking about electric vehicles today, and what does it mean for the technology in terms of what the future might hold for it? Well, the major names would be Tesla, of course, number one. Then we would jump onto Faraday Future. We have the company called Nikola. We've got a company called BMW with their Concept I. We've got Mercedes Benz jumping into the equation. We've got Audi with the e-tron series. We've got Jaguar with its future technology endeavors. We've got a company called Lucid Air. We've got a company called Rivian. And well, that kind of just rounds it all up in terms of what actually holds water in today's races. But what is the true essence behind these companies, and what do they have to offer, except for the fact that Tesla is the only one that we know that has a product that is out there on the line, and is a product that has been literally bought by thousands and thousands and thousands of people, used for possibly picture anything and everything that you want to do with an electric car, including living in it, which people do. But if we look at why Tesla has been the only car manufacturer in terms of electric vehicles that has overtaken everybody, in terms of it has literally been selling more vehicles than the rest of the competition combined. Instead of just jumping onto the Tesla bandwagon, let's just first break down what Faraday Future has to offer, and then we'll move on to the rest. Well, Faraday Future was a company that was established in the year 2014 by a guy called Xia Yunting, was a businessman from China. And well, let's just say that there was nothing about his company that was so remarkable, except for the fact that they came out with a concept vehicle that was supposed to be super fast, including their so-called sedan series that came out a little later, which was also supposed to be ridiculously fast. If you go by the series and the YouTube reviews that are out there, possibly every single tech reviewer ever made a review on Faraday Future, and they said nothing but good things about it, until they made a video later denouncing everything that they'd said before, at least for those that really gave a damn about what their audience thought about them and their opinions. For those that didn't, just let their videos be up there for the old assume what you need to assume ordeal. But what is Faraday Future? Well, Faraday Future was a passion project which went nowhere. Essentially, the company ran out of money before it could even bring a product to the main line. Instead of having a product that was solid enough to compete with the rest of the EVs on the market, Faraday Future could not even outsell a Prius, could not even outsell a Nissan Leaf. Faraday Future bet the house that they had on the fact that they would come out with this one concept vehicle that would be the fastest electronic vehicle of all time, and nothing could ever beat that vehicle. But sadly, that did not happen. As a matter of fact, Faraday Future even went as far as to enrolling with Dragon Racing in Formula E to bring their name into the mainstream. But did that help? No, by no means did that help. As a matter of fact, that just helped bringing the company to its knees and ensuring that bankruptcy was the only direction that they would end up going in. What's next? One would ask, well, let's just jump straight into Nikola, the company that was the biggest fraud in the realm of frauds. And why I say that is because Nikola was also founded in the year 2014, and guess what? Nikola is the name of Nikola Tesla. Now, Tesla was of course named after Nikola Tesla, and Nikola was also named after Nikola Tesla. If I wasn't someone who did not do his due diligence, I would just assume that these companies are sister companies, but they are far from it. As a matter of fact, if anything, they're rivals, if you would call them rivals, as a matter of fact. Well, Nikola persisted on the fact that they would make semi trucks and they would use hydrogen fuel cells to drive their trucks. But they were nothing but devious, they were nothing but full of lies, and they were nothing but full of deception. Why do I say this? Why I say this? Because of the fact that in order to show that their vehicles worked, they rolled their vehicle up a hill and then they rolled the truck down to make it look like the truck was traveling on its own accord, which is absolute deception in all specs of the imagination. As a matter of fact, even when Nikola went public with its stocks, it did not have a single product that people could stand behind. It was just all hype, it was all name, and it was all concept vehicles. That's all that it had to offer. Nikola also claimed that the hydrogen fuel cell would be the future of electronic vehicles, and it would be something that would be far superior than pure electronic vehicles in terms of performance. But nothing ever came to fruition. As a matter of fact, Nikola also went the extra mile in order to create something known as the Nikola Badger, which was supposed to be something that would dethrone the Ford F-150, which is the world's best-selling pickup truck ever created. The pickup truck market is a very solid market, and a market that people love to tap into because it's a very lucrative market. The margins available in a pickup truck market are remarkable, and any company that could make a product that people would love and appreciate and buy like crazy would make a huge profit, and that's a given factor. Ford has bet its entire existence on the fact that the F-150 was an immense success. As a matter of fact, so many of the piggyback lines that they launched after the F-150 were only because of the fact that the F-150 was such a hit. But the so-called Badger made by Nikola never came to fruition, which was supposed to be something that was going to be epic. As a matter of fact, the CEO of Nikola became the first hydrogen billionaire of the world. But what happened? Well, nothing happened because they did not have any assets, they didn't have any designs, and they didn't have anything that would come to fruition. As a matter of fact, a company as grand as General Motors decided to sign a partnership with Nikola, only to no avail. As a matter of fact, this deal that they signed was worth $0. General Motors invested nothing in Nikola. As a matter of fact, it just retained certain rights from Nikola instead. If Nikola would ever get the Badger up and running, General Motors would decide that they would literally use the entire construction angles of the Badger and make it themselves, as opposed to being dependent on Nikola to deliver. Nikola, as a matter of fact, after all this came crashing down when the federal government got involved and the FBI started investigating the CEO, Nikola didn't have a product still. And General Motors decided that, you know what, this is not something that we would like to affiliate ourselves with in terms of our own name, so let's just let Nikola do all the heavy lifting while we hold a good chunk of their stock. If in case they ever make something that is actually decent, that means that we would get a lot of money for none of the risk. Except for the fact that they had a huge taint on their name and their credibility in terms of investing in all of the wrong companies. General Motors was such a hesitant company to jump into the EV market, and when they did a decision like this to back a company called Nikola, which had nothing going for it, which had no experience whatsoever, and I cannot stress this enough, because even the people who were the CEO, who was the CFO, who was the head of design, none of them had any experience in the electronic vehicle market, and yet were hired at such high positions for some reason that we cannot comprehend. Let's just move on to Rivian. Now, Rivian is the company that is still hanging on in place. And the only reason why they're hanging on in place is the fact that Rivian ensured that they were not focused on sedans and they were not focused on the extra markets. They were only focused on one thing and one thing only, and that was making the world's first off-roading electric vehicles. They, as a matter of fact, put out a design for an R1S and an R1T that would be the SUV and a pickup truck. As a matter of fact, Ford invested $500 million in the company, only for then Amazon to invest $700 million in the company for it to finally be able to put out concrete designs about what would be the world's first off-road electric vehicle. Complete high performance, complete devastation if Rivian actually delivers on what it has claimed. Its designs have been amazing to look at. As a matter of fact, if Rivian does pull this off, and if Rivian does put out a vehicle that it claims that it can put out, and the specs at which it claims that the vehicle would be put out, it would be the only legitimate threat to Tesla's immortal reign till date. Let's just jump briefly over to Lucid Air. Now, what is Lucid Air, you would ask? Well, I'll tell you what Lucid Air is. Lucid Air was one of the companies that was the first company to ever be branded as a Tesla killer, if you would. It all went to the point in which Elon Musk went out of his way to even send a tweet out saying that he, the person who was in charge for designing the powertrain, the battery, and the electronics, never actually worked on the final product that Tesla put out. Which is understandable, but not really. As a matter of fact, Lucid Air also put out their own vehicles that were superior in design, that was superior in power, that was superior in battery range, and that was superior in performance. As a matter of fact, they used axial jet cooling manifolds. And for those of you that do not talk nerd, I am going to keep that brief by just telling you that their motors would be more efficient, they would put out more power, and they would be much, much lighter than any of the competition that was around. As a matter of fact, Lucid Air held so much ground because of a few things. And just to nerd out a little bit, I like to point those things out. It had 22 separate battery modules, alright? These battery modules combined could put out a total of 113 kilowatt hours of power. Now, Lucid would be, by this range, the best power distance in terms of the rest of the competition. Lucid would be at 4.6 kilowatt hours. The Model S by Tesla would be 4.1 kilowatt hours. The Chevy Bolt would be at a 3.9. And the Nissan Leaf, the oldest EV in the market, would be still at a 3.6. The Prius doesn't even come into this comparison, which is shocking rather. But this is where things get even more amazing for Lucid Air. You see, Formula E has been the best racing series for electric vehicles for a while now. And each and every team on Formula E is powered by Lucid Air's battery technology, exclusively by Lucid Air. And that just goes to show that their battery performance is actually way more superior than even Tesla's. As a matter of fact, it converts DC to AC through a very revolutionary alternator, which is the end-all be-all because of its MOSFETs that are actually silicon carbide. Now, I know this is a little too much to grasp, but this is what you need to know. Using the elements that Lucid Air uses, their engines and their battery packs and their modules put out way more power with way more efficiency than even Tesla's, thereby making them the most efficient in terms of electronic vehicle racing and electronic vehicle capabilities. Well, that brings us to one last addition. We all know that Tesla is Tesla because Tesla is the world leader in electronic vehicle development. And why I say that is because literally it is the top global electronic vehicle seller, sub-par to none. Even the biggest legacy automobile manufacturers have nothing to hold against the numbers that Tesla is putting out. Zero emissions, and yet it receives subsidies from countries that want more zero emissions, that want people to actually make the transition away from fossil fuels and move to a much more reliable, a much more eco-friendly approach towards personal transportation. And Tesla is at the epicenter of all of those transitions. Tesla also made a Model 3, and the Model 3 was the best-selling electronic vehicle ever constructed, period. The build, the drive, and the experience beats all other electronic vehicles. It's got the most range, subpar to only Lucid Air, who do not still have a road functional vehicle up for sale that has done the same numbers as a Tesla. As a matter of fact, Tesla also has superior marketing and superior branding, even though they don't run a single ad ever. What does that just go to show you? That just goes to show you that it's all about your product doing the talking for you and you not having to go out of your way to do the talking for your product. And then, of course, there is the Elon Musk factor. Now, for all of us who are Musk heads, who know Elon Musk and who know what he is capable of, you know that he doesn't need advertising that are traditional. All of SpaceX's astronauts travel by Teslas. When a Tesla was supposed to be launched in space, it was the Tesla Roadster that was supposed to come out in the year 2020. As a matter of fact, Elon Musk has gone out of his way to affiliate himself with multiple other ventures. And every time Elon Musk's name is brought up, so is Tesla's. That just gives it way more free advertising than anyone could have ever comprehended. For the first time in a long time, a car company is known by the name of its CEO rather than the name of the person that it's actually built after. No one knows Tesla to be actually because of Nikola Tesla. Yeah, a few of us do know that. But a few of us who are much more, well, let's just say less involved, would know Tesla because of Elon Musk. The tech involved in Teslas are subpar to none. As a matter of fact, they're leaps and bounds ahead of any of the competitors that are even trying to get close. Tesla technology is one of the biggest reasons why it's lapping everyone else, while people are still trying to get off the grid. Tesla also increases its driving usability with updates, thereby making it the only vehicle in this entire league that can get better sheerly by a few software updates. As a matter of fact, the latest software updates increase the cruise speed, decrease the supercharging time, as in so much in terms of little tiny specs and little tiny changes that the user who has already bought a car will experience a whole new wave of emotions with. They will experience them similar to the fact that they bought a new car altogether, where you will not get the same experience anywhere else. As a matter of fact, 100% of Teslas are manufactured in-house, and the only other company that is going to be even coming close with the fact that their software might just hold a torch to Tesla's is the fact that Mercedes-Benz just recently partnered with Nvidia. And if you know what Nvidia is, you know that if Nvidia and Mercedes come together and they use their brains, a legacy auto manufacturer and a legacy game producer and a legacy graphic design company, a legacy company that has been involved in development of AI, including epic hardware editions, is Nvidia. And if Nvidia can team up with Mercedes, and if this partnership blooms into what they believe it will bloom into, then there is nothing holding them back from actually being one of the best competitors to Tesla. Until then, Tesla still has it by a long margin. But before we end today's episode, I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge someone who's never acknowledged in this vast array of discussion about electronic vehicles. As a matter of fact, any video or any podcast that you would listen to about electric vehicles would fail to mention one person, and that's Trove. In the year 1880, Trove found an electric motor that was developed by Siemens, well, specifically by Jean Cavrol. He then put that engine into an English James Starley tricycle, and that, ladies and gentlemen, formed the world's first electric vehicle. And believe it or not, his idea is till date embraced to the fact in which people are crazy for electric vehicles. So if you have anyone to thank for the fact that electric vehicles are even a thing, I suggest you thank Trove, because he was the original curator of this idea. Alright, that is electric vehicles. And I'm fascinated to know what you guys think about the whole technology realm taking over automobiles as well. I know that it's not long now that most of the vehicles on the roads would be electronic. That most of the vehicles on the road would be more software dependent than ever before. That fossil fuel vehicles will be going out of style and will be going out of fashion. As a matter of fact, would also be less efficient and more expensive to drive and own sooner rather than later. With technology making leaps that it already is, and with even trucking and transport, major transport, starting to rely more on electronic energy rather than fossil fuels, it's just a matter of time before fossil fuels are ruled out altogether, which is epic because the earth needs a breather. And I know that electronic energy and electronic vehicles are not 100% economic, are not 100% emission free, because the amount of energy that they require to be charged is still coming out of a coal power plant, it's still coming out of a nuclear power plant. I get that. But the everyday running and the everyday emissions that are put out by these vehicles, at least those are put away. At least those are not a factor that we have to always encounter every time you turn the key to turn on your personal vehicle. Alright, that's been EVs. I'll see you guys real soon.